Maybe you've wondered why you're so impatient with your children, or because you feel guilty for not being able to be the loving, present, and balanced mother you imagined you would be. Perhaps, even on calmer days, you still wake up exhausted, with a confused mind, struggling to maintain the slightest emotional order. But what almost no one tells you is that the physical space in which you live may be directly influencing this. Your home, the one that should be your refuge, that place where you recharge your energy, connect with yourself and your family. Your home could be sabotaging you, and worse, it could be stopping you from being the mother you want and know you can be. It's not just about disorganization or physical mess. It's about how every detail around you impacts your mind. The colors, the sounds, the objects that you hold on to out of attachment, the accumulation that you no longer see, but that is still there, silently interfering with your well-being. It may just look like a messy room, a cold light, a piece of furniture in the wrong place, but it all sends constant messages to your brain, messages that increase stress, decrease your mental clarity, and directly affect your emotional energy. And before you think, but that's normal, let me ask you another question. Do you feel good being in your own home? Can you take a deep breath and feel that that space represents you, welcomes you, calms you? Or is the feeling that dominates that of suffocation, of yet another task that never ends, of an endless cycle of overload? If you've ever found yourself wanting to run away from home for a few minutes just to think, perhaps the problem isn't in your ability as a mother, but rather in the energy of the environment where you live. And this is more common and more dangerous than it seems, because when home becomes a source of stress rather than balance, it begins to reflect a constant scenario of tension. And the mind, absorbing this, responds with irritation, exhaustion, anxiety, until motherhood, which should be a space for bonding, starts to seem like a daily battle. The good news? It doesn't have to be like this. There is a way to change this dynamic without expensive renovations, without turning your house inside out, and most importantly, without blaming yourself for not having realized it sooner. Your home should be your refuge, a place where you feel welcomed, safe, at peace. But perhaps, without realizing it, your home is draining your energy instead of restoring it. Maybe that's why you feel so tired even after resting. Maybe that's why we lack patience in everyday life, lightness in motherhood, clarity in our thoughts. What if it's the environment around you that's stopping you from being the mother you want and deserve to be? You are not alone. Many women live exactly this reality, trying to balance everything, but feeling like something is pulling them down without explanation. The good news is that there is a way out, and it starts with awareness. Today, you will discover how the energy in your home directly influences your mind, your mood, and even the way you take care of your family. And more than that, I'll show you as transform your environment with simple, accessible, and powerful adjustments, real changes that generate emotional relief, restore balance to your routine, and bring you closer to the version of mother you want to be. But before continuing, I want to invite you to a moment of reflection and connection, right here in the comments, with just one word, how your home makes you feel today. It can be light, heavy, chaotic, welcoming, whatever comes from your heart. You'll be surprised to see how many other people feel the same way you do, and how this can be the beginning of a collective transformation. And if you know someone who experiences this silent overload, share this video now. Sometimes a touch of awareness is all that's needed to completely change your relationship with your home. What you're about to see could change the way you live inside your home and inside yourself. Stay with me until the end, because in the next few minutes, you will understand why your home may be blocking your energy and how you can reverse it in a simple, practical, and profound way. Let's go together. Every detail of the environment affects the emotional state of those who live in that space. The energy of the house is not subjective, it is real, and directly impacts behavior, mood, and the way people deal with everyday life. Crowded houses with little light, heavy colors, and blocked circulation contribute to mental fatigue, increase the feeling of heaviness, and hinder emotional clarity. It is impossible to maintain a balanced mind in an environment that conveys saturation and discomfort. Home, as an extension of the mind, reflects emotions. When it is disorganized, it conveys restlessness. When overloaded with objects, it communicates stagnation. poorly lit, it causes discouragement. An environment with stuck energy reduces empathy, focus, and the ability to be present. And this directly influences the way someone experiences motherhood, relates, works, and perceives themselves in the world. The mind reads the environment without even realizing it. Bold colors create tension. Accumulations awaken unresolved memories and emotions. Environments without harmony block emotional flow. Every home sends signals, and those signals shape behaviors every day. The way we act, feel, and decide is profoundly affected by everything around us. When the home is out of balance, the body and mind remain in a state of alert. Stress increases, tolerance decreases, and presence depletes. Motherhood, in this scenario, is lived with effort and not with dedication. Vital energy dissipates into small daily frustrations. Breaks are not enough, and guilt, silently, occupies internal spaces without being noticed. Organizing the environment with intention rebalances not only the home, but the emotions of those who inhabit it. Simple adjustments cause big changes. Changing the cold light for a warmer one changes the feeling of welcome. Removing broken or functionless objects unblocks stagnant energy. Creating a small corner of peace offers emotional anchoring. Eliminating excess makes room for what really matters. Simplifying the visual helps the mind to breathe. Visual harmony reduces internal noise. Organization done with presence becomes self-care. When the home is cared for with intention, it returns that care in the form of well-being. It's not about aesthetics, but about emotional functionality. A balanced home generates smoother relationships, more conscious decisions, and moments of greater connection. Transforming the house is restoring the mind. When the environment conveys calm, security, and lightness, the routine changes. The mind organizes itself. The energy circulates again. Small daily rituals like opening windows, lighting a candle, using natural scents, or playing soft music bring the body back to the present and re-establish the emotional center. Environments with balanced energy strengthen bonds, presence, and clarity. A home that welcomes sustains the emotional. A suffocating house weakens. Opting for a lighter environment is not about style, it's about mental health. A functional space supports well-being. By transforming the outside, a profound change begins inside. Emotional balance is born. In the environment, empty spaces, visual pauses, harmony, and functionality ease the mind. This relief is reflected in every gesture, every decision, and how the day unfolds. The mind calms down when the environment cooperates. The suffocation lessens when the space offers support. Locked spaces keep the mind in tension. Cozy spaces free you. The first step towards a lighter motherhood is to observe the environment. Does your surroundings promote clarity or tiredness? Nourishes or depletes? Home should be emotionally supportive, not demand resistance. Emotional organization begins with physical space. Mental peace is born in environments that favor inner silence. The house needs to support those who live in it. This requires conscious choices with practical intention, because the environment shapes the way we live, feel, react, and love. When the emotional foundation is built on an overloading home, everything becomes destabilized. But by changing this basis, everything finds a new balance. Thoughts slow down, anxiety weakens, the body relaxes, and the relationship with children transforms. External lightness creates space for internal lightness. When the environment reflects what you want to feel, well-being becomes a daily practice. The energy in the house becomes a source, not an obstacle. And with that, the routine realigns more naturally. Motherhood stops being a burden and becomes a presence. The tasks of the day become lighter, the mind breathes, the listening opens. Creativity awakens. An emotionally clean house strengthens bonds. Touch becomes more affectionate, conversations softer, looks brighter. Changing space alters behavior, emotions, and relationships. Transforming the environment is a practical response to how you feel. The home can heal. It can be an emotional shelter, a source of strength, and a place of rebirth. Harmonized environments calm the nervous system. And balance is everything a mother needs to feel whole within her routine. None of this requires expensive renovations. It starts with simple decisions. Remove what weighs, keep what makes sense, create spaces that welcome. An organized drawer, a repositioned piece of furniture, a corner with intention. Each gesture reorganizes the energy. Previously forgotten spaces gain an emotional function. Accumulated corners become places for pause, meditation, or affection. Natural elements restore life and comfort. The house now supports the life we want to live. It becomes alive, functional, and meaningful. And when that happens, the change is noticeable. The energy doesn't go away. Thoughts flow. Decisions align. Time slows down. The home becomes a partner of the mind. It's no longer demands. It's real support. Support that you feel in your body, in your emotions, in your routine. Many mothers try to resolve tiredness by adjusting their routine. They buy diaries, follow methods, but they live in homes that continue to fuel exhaustion, houses that scream in silence, that ask for change, but remain the same. The external space needs to reflect the desired internal peace. It is at home that emotional restructuring begins. It doesn't depend on perfection. It depends on truth, listening, and intention. To let every detail serve a greater purpose, to restore peace, to support motherhood, to sustain well-being. The house that respects who you are, that welcomes the rhythms, strengthens, and heals. Transforming the house is restoring the mind. The overload dissolves. The anxiety eases. Guilt loses ground. The environment tells a new story, a story where there is space to feel, breathe, exist. And with that foundation, everything becomes possible. Even what seemed distant before, balance, lightness, connection with your children, begins to happen. Even in chaos, change is possible. With little time, few resources, within any space, because it all starts with a choice. Listen to what the house is communicating and make it an ally. This choice starts a new movement, a movement of presence. And when presence settles in, everything transforms. The look changes, the ringtone changes, the way of mothering changes. Because now, there is a place where the mind finds rest. Where there is rest, there is strength. Where there is welcome, there is listening. Where there is lightness, there is space to love. It all starts with the environment, and everything blooms from the house. You have already begun to realize that the way your home is today has a direct influence on how you feel, how you react, and even how you relate to your children. This content is not just a reflection. It is a real invitation to transform your life from the space where everything happens. Your home. The clarity you have gained so far paves the way for profound changes that go far beyond the organization. What follows will show you how transforming the environment around you can restore your energy, return your emotional presence, and make motherhood stop being an overload, and become a lighter, livelier, and more conscious experience. Subscribe to the channel now. This journey of reconnecting with your home and yourself is just beginning. Every step forward from here is a real step forward in building a home that supports the woman and mother you want and can be. Start observing the details: dark colors, cold lighting, furniture positioned without fluidity, visual excess. Each element inside the house carries a specific vibration that directly connects with the emotional state of whoever lives there. The environment works like a silent mirror, reflecting and amplifying sensations, patterns, behaviors. A lifeless wall communicates stagnation. A blocked runner transmits blockage. An abandoned corner reinforces the feeling of internal forgetfulness. And that's why, when looking at each space with more presence, it becomes clear that the house is in constant dialogue with the mind. The energy of the environment infiltrates the routine. A chaotic space increases anxiety, speeds up thoughts, and weakens the ability to focus. A house without visual clarity requires cognitive effort, even in silence. Each item out of place requires an alert response from the mind. This is tiring. This overloads. This interferes with mood, bonding with children, productivity, and quality of rest. When the home is misaligned with what a person wants to live, the body feels it first. Recurring pain, insomnia, irritability, a feeling of weight on the shoulders. None of this is random. Everything is directly linked to the vibration of the space. Dense colors absorb light and intensify introspection. Aggressive white light stimulates the nervous system and prevents sensory rest. Furniture that takes up more space than necessary restricts the flow of movement, and with it, the flow of vital energy. A poorly distributed environment interferes with emotional breathing. The absence of sensory welcome points, such as soft textures, natural aromas, harmonic sounds, removes moments of grounding from everyday life, and the house, instead of recharging, starts to drain. The turning point happens when the environment is reorganized with intention. The first step is adjusting the natural light. Open the windows first thing in the morning. Allow the air to circulate. Let the sun touch the furniture and walls. This simple action revitalizes the energy of space and activates the body's biological rhythm. Next, it is essential to reposition the furniture, creating fluid paths and visual breathing spaces. When the body walks without bumping, the mind walks more clearly. The functional layout of each room changes the way you feel when inhabiting that space. Environments that respect the rhythm of those who live there promote emotional stability. Replacing dark colors with lighter tones is not just an aesthetic decision, it is a practice of energy balance. Neutral and natural tones reflect light, expand the look, and convey lightness. Light fabrics in curtains, pillows, and throws soften the visual landscape. Cleaner surfaces reduce unnecessary stimuli. Living plants introduce movement, freshness, humidity, and natural presence to the space. The green breathes with the house. The house, in turn, begins to breathe with those who inhabit it. Creating a ritual of reconnection with space deepens this transformation. Start the day by intentionally opening the windows, lighting a candle with a soft scent, preparing background music with sounds that promote calm and presence. These gestures activate the emotional memory of the house, informing the body that there is a moment of pause, of care, of silence. They build an emotional frequency that becomes the foundation for the rest of the day. The house, then, stops being just a functional setting and becomes a source of restorative energy. These practices establish a new language with the environment. The senses begin to perceive that there is harmony. Eyes rest on cleaner surfaces. Touch is soothed by welcoming textures. The sense of smell receives stimuli that refer to nature and comfort. The ear recognizes sounds that slow down. And with that, the nervous system regulates itself. The mind finds space. The body positions itself more lightly. Breathing expands. The presence stabilizes. Organized and energetically balanced environments have been proven to reduce levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. Neuroarchitecture points out that spaces lit with warm, airy tones and natural elements increase the production of serotonin, responsible for the feeling of well-being. And this is directly reflected in the way you mother, how you work, how you feel. Emotional balance no longer depends solely on internal effort and begins to be supported by external space as well. When transforming a passing environment into a space of presence, the impact is immediate. The room becomes a place for meeting and not for distraction. The room becomes rest and not storage. The kitchen takes on a nutritional function and not just an obligation. The bathroom becomes a space for care, for silence, and not just for rushing. Each corner begins to play its real role within everyday life, supporting those who occupy it and contributing to integral well-being. All of this happens with conscious choices. Each object positioned with intention contributes to the emotional functionality of the room. What is removed makes room for breathing. What is placed communicates welcome. What is maintained reinforces identity. The house says, here you can rest, here you can be whole, here you can feel it. This transformed relationship between the body and space also changes the closest bonds. Motherhood finds more presence when there is sensory support. Listening with your children deepens when there is less noise around. The touch becomes lighter. Patience increases. The connection strengthens. This all starts with the details, in small adjustments, in the light that comes in the sound that fills, in the organization that liberates, in the corner that welcomes you. The environment has the power to sustain or sabotage the internal state. When there is harmony outside, the inside finds balance more easily. When the eyes see beauty, the heart recognizes calm. When the body feels comfort, the mind responds with clarity. And the house, which previously was just a scene of overload, becomes a territory of balance, a space that respects, that listens, that cares. From this new positioning, everything around begins to reorganize itself more fluidly, preparing the field for the next step of this transformation. The house begins to reflect what happens inside. The air circulates more lightly, the rooms gain purpose, and the routine finds a new rhythm. When the surrounding space supports gently, a new sensation takes hold. Its presence, its clarity, its lightness. Write lightness in the comments to record this moment when your home begins to flow with you. This word carries much more than meaning. It confirms that the environment now welcomes you, supports you, and represents you. And whoever reads it, feels it. Because transforming your home also transforms who you are inside it. There are days when the body comes home asking for rest, but the environment responds with more weight. Instead of welcoming, the feeling is that something sucks energy right at the front door. The look scans the rooms and finds everything that needs to be done. Clothes to fold, toys scattered around, dishes in the sink, objects out of place. The mind starts spinning in high gear before you even take a deep breath. The environment, which should sustain, ends up draining. The body remains alert, even at home. And the fatigue, instead of passing, deepens. These are clear signs that the energy in the house is out of alignment with what the emotional needs are. The home, when loaded with tasks, visual noise, and emotional disorganization, starts to function as another source of stress. Each object out of place represents a pending issue. Every aimless corner conveys confusion. The absence of an individual space reinforces the feeling of invisibility, that everything revolves around each other. And this lack of a place of one's own within one's own home has a direct impact on self-esteem, vitality, and mental clarity. The energy of the environment speaks all the time. A home that transmits overload interferes with the quality of sleep, the way we eat, patience with children, productivity, and creativity. Thoughts race. Pauses no longer happen. The feeling is that there is no moment of real rest. Everything seems like an extension of the obligation. When physical space does not offer emotional support, everyday life becomes a cycle of exhaustion, even in small things. And that's why recognizing these signs clearly is so important. They are invitations to change. The feeling that the house is always out of order, even after hours of effort, indicates an energy imbalance. Physical cleaning is not enough when energy is congested. Visual excess is tiring. The lack of intention in the organization is draining. The accumulation of objects, even if clean, sends a constant message that there is always something pending. And when there is no place where the body can stop calmly, the nervous system remains activated. The house, in this state, is not conducive to rest. She demands, presses, all in silence. Creating a balance point completely changes this dynamic. And this point doesn't need to be big, sophisticated, or full of elements. A song of peace, even if small, has the power to anchor the mind and restore emotional breath. An armchair with a soft blanket, a lit candle with a soft aroma, a plant next to it, a yellowish light. This space becomes a place for real pause. He is no longer an item on the to-do list. He is the breather between them. A place where the energy of the environment communicates. Here you can rest, here you can come back to yourself. This corner functions as a personal sanctuary. It represents more than physical comfort. It symbolizes presence, self-care, limits. He states that within chaos there can be a space of calm, and when entering this space, the body understands that it can relax. The mind slows down, the look softens, the heart thanks you. This is the first step to changing your relationship with your home, creating an environment that is yours, that represents you, that welcomes you, exactly as you are. From there, the transformation begins to spread to the rest of the home. The absence of this personal space, on the other hand, is a strong sign of emotional disconnection. When everything is focused on others, children, tasks, commitments, and there is no place where you can simply exist lightly, the feeling of exhaustion becomes constant. The home needs to contain, sustain, allow for breaks. It needs to offer energy security, a place where you can take a deep breath and remember who you are, in addition to the functions you perform. This small space also acts as an emotional reference. On the busiest days, it becomes a return point. On calmer days, he becomes the center of presence. Being there, even for a few minutes, helps to rebalance the internal state. The house then begins to reorganize itself from this center. The home stops being just functional and becomes emotionally intentional. The choice of elements, the arrangement of furniture, the aromas, the colors, everything starts to revolve around the question, does this nourish me? When this question guides decisions at home, everything starts to take on a different rhythm. The tasks continue to exist, but they no longer consume the same way. The look becomes gentler because the environment conveys lightness. Moments with family gain more presence because the mind finds real breaks throughout the day. And most importantly, the body once again recognizes the house as a home and not as an obligation. Creating a corner of peace inside your home is a silent affirmation of self-care. It is an act of presence in the middle of the routine. It is choosing, consciously, to build an environment that respects the emotional rhythm. A small but deeply symbolic space. A simple but incredibly transformative gesture. From this space onwards, the house begins to respond differently, and the body feels it. The mind feels. Motherhood feels. This is the kind of change that starts subtle but expands with force. When the environment stops charging and starts supporting, the energy changes. Fatigue begins to give way to presence. Overload begins to give way to self-care. And even on the most intense days, there is a guaranteed rest point, a corner where silence heals, where the light is soft, where time slows down just to remember. Here you can simply be. This movement brings to light a new perception. The surrounding environment does not need to be a source of stress. It can be an active part of well-being. It can offer support, inspiration, presence. It can emotionally support the challenges of motherhood, work, routine. And it all starts with a choice, recognizing the signs and creating, with intention, a space of balance within your own home. From here, the next step in this journey reveals how to expand this feeling throughout the home, making each room an invitation to lightness and daily presence. When the house starts to become this truly welcoming space, everything around it changes tone. The body feels, the mind responds, energy circulates differently, and only those who experience this transformation understand how much a simple song can renew the entire day. This change has already begun, silent but profound, and deserves to be shared. Your presence here is part of a movement that inspires other homes to also find this point of balance. Each gesture of recognition strengthens this transformation network. Liking this video is one of those gestures, simple but powerful. It's like turning on a soft light that spreads to other homes, other mothers, other routines, because when the home welcomes, the internal world flourishes, and this flourishing deserves to reach more people. When the surrounding environment is out of balance, motherhood is experienced under a dense layer of emotional fatigue. The house demands more than it offers, and the mind operates in survival mode. Each day begins with the feeling of delay, of accumulated, pending issues, of imminent failure. And this constant state of alert infiltrates every little moment with your children. Patience becomes shorter, the presence fragments, the touch loses lightness, the look disappears. Everything that should be experienced with dedication starts to be executed with effort. This pattern is established more strongly when the space is not emotionally supportive. Constant clutter triggers irritation. Visual noise blocks focus. Physical excess feeds mental excess. And, as a result, the bond with children suffers. Listening becomes hurried. Reactions become impulsive. Guilt settles like a shadow that accompanies the days, not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of breathing, due to the absence of an environment that welcomes both mother and child with the same kindness. The energy of the house directly affects the energy of motherhood. A charged environment keeps the body in tension. This tension, in turn, reduces the ability to deal with crying, noise, and repeated demands. Everything accumulates inside and outside, and when there is no point of balance in the house, the routine turns into a sequence of emotional survival. Self-care ceases to exist. Moments of presence become rare. Guilt grows each time one realizes the emotional distance in one's own home. This cycle changes from the moment the environment begins to be treated with intention. External lightness reorganizes the internal rhythm. A space that conveys silent order, calms the mind even before any breathing technique. When visual noises are reduced, mental stimuli decrease. The mess loses space, and along with it, the constant irritation dissolves. The gaze, now calmer, finds space to see the sun more clearly. The heart, now less burdened, is able to react more sweetly. This transformation does not happen abruptly, but takes place steadily. Every corner of the house that gains harmony returns emotional balance. An environment where objects have a defined place, where excess gives way to the essential, where there is visual respite, transmits a clear message to the nervous system. Here it is safe, here there is space to feel, here it is possible to slow down. And it is in this scenario that the bond between mother and child finds fertile space to grow more authentically. Motherhood requires a presence that is only possible when the mind is anchored. A harmonized home provides this foundation. The child feels the direct reflection of this change. Feel it in the tone of voice, in the time of the gaze, in the way the hug lasts a little longer. The environment becomes an emotional co-regulator. Instead of intensifying the chaos, it softens it. Instead of generating reactivity, it invites listening. A room with less visual stimulation favors sleep. An organized room conveys calm during playtime. The kitchen, when functional and welcoming, transforms the act of eating into a gesture of shared care. The mother, within a supportive environment, accesses emotional resources that seemed distant. Empathy expands. Patience gains space. Listening becomes deeper. There is no effort to be present, because the environment already supports this presence. The bond with children is strengthened not by new techniques, but by an internal state that is transformed by the external organization. The touch becomes more intentional, the most available lap, the most fluid routine. Everything starts to line up, and when the environment offers this emotional support, motherhood becomes more true. No pressure, no silent demands, no camouflaged guilt, just real presence. Connection stops being a task and becomes an organic part of the day. The son's smile is more noticeable. Fatigue is welcomed with compassion. Error stops being a burden and becomes learning. The mother feels whole because there is space for that. The lightness of the house communicates that lightness is allowed. Visual silence conveys the message that the break is safe. Physical order strengthens the sense that there is direction, even on chaotic days. And every detail of the environment reinforces a more stable emotional state. The child responds to this stability with more tranquility, with more confidence, with more presence too. The relationship transforms, because space transforms the experience. Motherhood, within a welcoming home, flourishes with more truth. It's not about doing more, but about feeling more. It's not about having control, but about having connection. The environment, when adjusted with intention and sensitivity, becomes an active part of building the bond. It stops being a neutral scenario and becomes a care tool. This change is revealed in the details, in quality time that increases, in the conversation that happens without distractions, in the touch that lasts, in the laughter that spreads without guilt. The environment makes everything more possible because it emotionally supports those who mother. And when the mother is cared for at home, she cares with more presence, more affection, more lightness. This is the direct and powerful impact of an environment that flows with the life stage of those who live there. From here, the transformation process begins to expand beyond the relationship with children, reaching other areas of life with the same restorative force that begins at home. The most profound changes began precisely at the moment when everything seemed too far away. The idea of transforming the house sounded like something big, complex, expensive. It was easy to imagine that only a complete renovation or the purchase of new furniture would bring the desired lightness. This feeling created an invisible barrier. On the one hand, the desire for a more welcoming home. On the other, the belief that it would only be possible with large investments. And that's exactly where the turning point begins. Because real transformation arises from what is already present. The most effective change doesn't come from aesthetics. It comes from intention. The first step is to choose what works for you. Separate what inspires from what just takes up space. Observe each corner with a new look and ask yourself, does this represent me? Nourish me? Does it have a function? Or does it just carry a memory of something that is already past? When the answer is clear, so is the decision. And in this process, each choice turns into liberation. What no longer makes sense is released lightly. What remains gains space to breathe. The practice of detachment becomes a daily exercise. Instead of thinking about transforming everything at the same time, the focus goes to the essentials, one object at a time, one surface per day, one drawer at a time. The environment is gradually emptied, but the effect is immediate. Air circulates better, the gaze slows down, the body feels relief, because physical excess feeds mental excess. And by eliminating what is left, a new feeling of control, lightness, and emotional clarity emerges. Among so many possible strategies, One of the most powerful is the 2-minute rule. It starts in a simple, practical, and deeply effective way. Instead of planning a large organization, the proposal is to start with what can be done in 2 minutes. Organize a drawer, clean a shelf, separate a donation bag. Small gestures with great energetic impact. The energy changes the instant the action begins. Space responds quickly, and that response motivates the next step. In a few days, the environment already has a different atmosphere. The presence of plants in the space brings movement, freshness, connection with nature. Even a small plant, positioned with intention, changes the vibrational field of a room. The leaves purify the air, the green color calms the mind. Caring for them invites presence. Along with the plants, lighter fabrics, soft colors, and welcoming textures come into play. Curtains that filter the light without blocking it, cushions with light tones, rugs that warm your feet and senses. All of these elements may already be inside the home, just waiting to be repositioned with purpose. Objects with real meaning begin to occupy prominent spaces. A painting that inspires, a picture frame with a good memory, an aroma that refers to tranquility. These elements, when chosen with intention, have the power to completely transform the energy of an environment. A corner that previously went unnoticed becomes a resting point. A piece of furniture that previously took up too much space is removed, and circulation becomes more fluid. The home begins to breathe differently. Instead of buying something new, the choice becomes to use what already exists with presence. A piece of furniture moved around completely changes the feeling of a room. A relocated object gains a new function. Adjusted light transforms the vibe of an entire space. The house, even without major interventions, begins to align itself with those who live there today, no longer with the past or with excess. Every small change sends a message to the mind. It is possible to transform with what you have. It is possible to create lightness from simplicity. And the more you enter into this process, the clearer the realization becomes that the home does not need to be renovated to be restorative. It needs to be taken care of with intention. The energy of the environment adjusts when there is presence in what is done, when there is truth in what is chosen to remain. These small actions have a profound effect because they involve physical and emotional movement. Letting go of something that was once important takes courage. Redefining a corner requires listening. Repositioning a piece of furniture requires looking. Each gesture carries an internal alignment decision. The environment is being shaped with consciousness, and the mind follows this rhythm. Space begins to reflect more faithfully who you are, and not just what has accumulated over time. This movement transforms the relationship with one's home. The rooms gain soul. Objects gain presence. Everyday life begins to be lived with more emotional functionality. Environments are no longer a deposit of things, but a support field. Everything that is there has a purpose, and that changes the way the days go. Pauses become smoother, the most fluid routine. Well-being becomes part of everyday life. Lightness is not in how much you have, but in what you choose to keep. The energy of the home does not depend on big external changes, but on small decisions made consciously. Each organized corner conveys a message of care. Every detail that inspires strengthens the emotional. The house, therefore, stops being a setting and becomes an active tool for balance, focus, comfort. And the more this intention spreads across spaces, the more it reverberates inward. The mind finds rest where it once was heaviness. The body relaxes where tension previously existed. Motherhood expresses itself more sweetly. The routine is organized more lightly. The transformation, which previously seemed distant, becomes real, because it was born from the simple, from the possible, from the now. From here, the process of change begins to radiate into each room, expanding this new emotional state throughout the house. Now that lightness has begun to take shape in the small details, the impact can already be felt in the body, in the mind, in the way of living the day. The energy of the house aligned with a new phase, clearer, more intentional, more welcoming. And transforming your own space with what you already have is more than a personal achievement. It is a silent inspiration for other people who experience the same tiredness, the same weight, the same feeling of being stuck. Sharing this video is like opening a window in someone's house who is still in the dark. It is to spread this real possibility of transformation through simplicity, detachment, presence. It's being part of a movement that doesn't start with major renovations, but with conscious choices. like changing a light, emptying a drawer, taking a deep breath in front of a lighter space. The transformation already started there. Now, she can reach other homes, other routines, other mothers who also want to reconnect with their home and themselves. Because every share click is a new door that opens, and every home that transforms the world around it. Getting started doesn't require major changes. It just requires a conscious gesture. The first step can be as simple as choosing a small space in your home and deciding, with intention, that it will be treated with care. It could be a shelf, a table next to the bed, a corner of the living room, a part of the bedroom. Size doesn't matter. What matters is the presence with which this space will be looked at, reorganized, and given new meaning. The feeling of being far from the mother you want to be begins to dissolve when the environment starts to collaborate with the construction of this new version, because the home has a direct role in the way motherhood is experienced. When the surroundings pressure, everything inside the mind speeds up. But when the space conveys lightness, everything within it begins to slow down. It is in this new rhythm that patience finds a place, that the look becomes gentler, that the touch carries more presence. The environment is a reflection of the stage of life. An overloaded space communicates that there are also excesses in the emotional routine. An abandoned corner shows the absence of time for oneself. A home where everything is focused on others, and nothing represents one's own essence, reveals the urgency for reconnection. And this reconnection happens, little by little, when a specific place is chosen to be a source of relief and no longer a reminder of pending tasks. This space needs to be beautiful, not in the traditional aesthetic sense, but in an emotional sense. Beautiful because it represents. Beautiful because it welcomes. Beautiful because it conveys something true. A candle with a soft scent, a blanket folded with care, a plant that grows over time, an object with emotional value. These elements together create an atmosphere that communicates. There is intention here. There is care here. There is a support point here. The energy changes the moment this song takes on new life. The mind realizes that there is, within the house itself, a space that does not demand, that does not pressure, that does not demand. A space that is simply there to sustain. This is the place where the shoulders relax, where breathing slows down. Where is it possible to be without performing? And when this place exists, even if small, it starts to radiate a new type of energy to the rest of the house. Every gesture made there directly impacts the emotional state. Organizing a corner reduces mental noise. The sensory beauty of soft light calms the nervous system. Presence in front of a simple task, such as folding fabric or watering a plant, brings the body back to the now. All of this is reflected in how the rest of the house is perceived. The chaos no longer seems so uncontrollable. Overhead no longer takes up as much space, because now there is a starting point. There is an anchor. This corner, however discreet it may seem, acts as a portal to a new relationship with home. He teaches that the essential can be constructed simply. He shows that well-being comes from details. He invites constancy, not haste, and this constancy transforms. 1 minute a day in that space is enough to generate emotional change. Sit, breathe, be. This is the type of action that reorganizes inside and out. Often, what's missing isn't energy, it's direction. And the right environment delivers this clearly. When looking at that light corner, the mind understands that it is possible to create lightness in other places too. Inspiration spreads. The next step comes naturally. The drawer that had been annoying for a long time is now looked at more kindly. The previously messy surface is now treated with intention. The house begins to respond with reciprocity. This practice does not require extreme effort. It requires presence. And this presence has the power to restore. A welcoming home encourages truer relationships. A house that flows allows motherhood to happen with more connection, because the mother who wants to be more present, calmer, more aware, finds support in this environment that now speaks more sweetly. The transformation that seemed distant becomes real, and it begins exactly in this small space. Each choice made in this process communicates something. By taking away what weighs, the body feels light. By putting forth what inspires, the mind finds clarity. By organizing with intention, the emotional reorganizes itself. And this sequence becomes natural. When the house starts to become an extension of what you want to feel, the days take on a different rhythm. Motherhood stops being a task and becomes an experience. The routine stops suffocating and begins to support. Space doesn't require it. It offers it. The beginning of this journey is within anyone's reach. Just choose a point, a place that represents the desire for change, a song that becomes a symbol of what you want to live. This small action is what starts the bigger movement. A simple gesture, a new look, a clear intention. From here, the house begins to reorganize itself, along with life. Energy adjusts. Well-being sets in, and the mother who seemed distant begins to blossom right where she is. Have you noticed? The transformation has begun. It appeared in the details, in the simple choices, in the corner that now has purpose, in the lightness you felt just by imagining your home as an ally and not an obstacle. This change is already in motion, and it does not require haste or perfection, just intention, just presence. From now on, every small action you take consciously within your home will have a direct impact on your mind, your well-being, and above all, the way you experience motherhood. Write here in the comments what this video awakened in you. It could be a word, a sensation, or even an idea for future content. Your participation nourishes this community and makes more people feel like they belong to this same transformation process. Enjoy this video as a way to recognize what has already changed inside, and so that this change reaches many other mothers who are also looking for more lightness, more presence, more clarity. And if you felt that this content helped you see your home with new eyes, then it makes sense to be part of this channel. Here, each video is a safe space to reflect, organize, and transform, from the inside out, from your own home. Subscribing means choosing to be in constant contact with content that strengthens your emotions, broadens your perception, and always reminds you that you have the power to create an environment that supports you. See the previous video with more practical ideas, deep reflections, and possible steps to continue moving forward in this reorganization that has already begun. Because when home aligns with who you are, everything starts to flow more lightly. The day, the touch, the speaking, the listening, the entire routine. Thank you very much for being here. Your presence strengthens this community that grows every day, made up of women who want more well-being, more clarity, more comfort, without needing major reforms or radical changes. And never forget, your home is an extension of your balance. Take care of her, and she will take care of you.